The Joe Rogan Experience.
I don't like when people are telling other people what to and not to do, and it's based on their own personal ideology. I don't like it.
I don't like it at all either. Because I'm very much of, look, you do what you want to do with your life as long as it doesn't interfere with mine or step on any of my rights. We're good.
How Texas of you?
Texas through and through, brother. I am Texas born and raised.
Yeah. It's a great place.
Yeah, I love it.
So this is my two positions that I was saying before. So number one position, I am 100% in favor of law enforcement. And I think they need to be better trained. And I think you need to get rid of those bad motherfuckers. I think there's a lot of them. I think there's a lot of bad cops. You need to get rid of those.
And I got to get this off because this is just something that pisses me off a little bit. That is a nuanced perspective. However, on social media and in general, the idea of having a nuanced perspective on a particular issue is so far gone now that you can't even really have a conversation. I can say in one breath, I am pro-cop.
Yes.
I am pro-cop. I have a lot of friends who are cops. However, there are also a good number of them who are evil as fuck, probably racist, and need to be fucking dissolved from the
sociopaths,
exactly.
psychopaths, murderers. Yes.
But for some reason, it's either all cops are bad or they're all good, and that's what I can't get down with.
Yeah,
I just can't.
You can't get down with that, and I'm with you. I think we can also say in one breath, I'm pro-cop, but I'm also pro these peaceful protests.
Yeah,
I think these peaceful protests are important. And there was I mean, maybe I did a bad job of explaining what I was trying to say, but whatever basketball player was mad at me the other day because it was something I said that I think a lot of these people are fighting like an invisible enemy when they're protesting. What I mean by that is, yes, we need bad cops. Yes, cops should stop shooting whether it's black people or white people or anybody for the wrong reason.
Just so that because people love to. I remember our last segment, we made a mistake verbally, and people jumped on it. You said we need bad cops.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh. Did I really? Imagine saying, how dumb am I? We need bad cops. We need cops. Yeah. We need good cops. But there's definitely bad cops, and bad cops that shoot people, whatever race they are fucking terrible. Clearly, there's a problem with cops shooting black people.
Yeah.
Clearly. There's also statistically not even just shooting people. If you look at the death statistics for cops and black people, there's a thing that people like to do where they say, well, actually cops shoot more white people than black people. But there are more white people than black people. But the other thing that I think is as important, if not more important, is cops are physical with black people more than they are white people. Cops are physical with brown people, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans. They're physical with them more than they are white people, statistically by as much or more than 25%. There is a problem. Also, there's a problem with people that don't know what they want. They just think that defunding the cops are bad. This is what I meant by fighting an invisible enemy. I just did a shitty job of explaining it. The thing we should want is a safe community, including people that get pulled over by cops. So that's the one thing that needs to be addressed first, right? Get rid of the bad cops, fund them better, train them better. And we should all want this. This defund the cop shit is crazy.
I think a lot of this movement has been co-opted.
By?
And I always hesitate because I like I said, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I have to call a spade a spade. There are a lot of subversive. There's a subversive group in this country that wants to topple the current structure of the United States, so that they can gain power because they think they can rule better. Yes. And a lot of those people, generally speaking, are Marxist.
Yes.
That's pretty much it. That's why, like, I make a delineation when people are asking me about Black Lives Matter, for instance. Black Lives Matter, the sentiment, I can get down with. Black Lives Matter, the organization, I cannot.
And why is that?
Because they are not for the same thing.
So what do you think?
The leader, the founders of Black Lives Matter literally just came out and basically said she's a trained Marxist. She didn't basically say it, she said it blatantly. She's a trained Marxist. Both of them. The founders of Black Lives Matter organization
are these
both
same
trained Marxists.
Folks that went on stage with Bernie Sanders at one time?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that.
And took the mic from him?
Whoever the two women are who are the founders of Black Lives Matter, the organization, they are trained Marxists. They said it with their own mouth on the show.
And what is their goal? What do they want?
Well, what do Marxists want? They want to topple the current structure. They have their so to speak, they're useful idiots that create chaos to topple whatever structure is in place so that they can come in, fill the vacuum. And then what do they do with the useless chaos? What do they do with the useful idiots? They dispose of them because they are rebellious in nature and thus will topple the power structure that's in place then.
So
That's
who are the useful idiots that you think that they are utilizing?
The people running around spraying Black Lives Matters while rioting and looting.
Yes.
Not protesting,
Right.
but rioting and looting.
That's the distinction. And this is what I did a shitty job of explaining. There's a lot of people that are out there protesting, and I don't necessarily think they understand what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Like, what needs to be done to keep us safe is not defunding the police.
Not.
What needs to be done is
maybe.
they need to go through the fucking police department with a fine-tooth comb, and every one of these motherfuckers that has multiple complaints, just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Just get rid. Find out what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
If the multiple complaints don't make sense,
Yeah.
then leave them alone.
Yeah.
But find out, like that guy, that guy that killed that guy, and like, for anybody who could do that to a person, who can lean on a person's neck like that for 8 minutes,
Something's fucking wrong with you.
something's fucking wrong with you, and you should have never been a cop in the first place. And we all know that there are people like that. When you talk to people that are in the military, there are folks that they have to work with that are fucking sociopaths.
Yeah.
And they hope that BUDS training and that SEAL training is going to weed those guys out, or that Ranger training, or whatever the fuck it is that they have to do. But it doesn't always. Always. And sometimes they get in a situation, and Jocko was talking about how you'll get an entire SEAL team that they have to disband and reset up because they have bad leadership.
Gotcha.
And so you get these same guys, and they come in with good leadership, and they get trained correctly, and it turns around. And it turns out, you know, look, if we join some sort of a military group and you're being led by some fucking piece of shit commander, what do you do? Where do you go? And your faith in the whole entire organization is fucked.
Yep.
So a lot of this stuff is top down. So you have a lot of these cops that are in these bad neighborhoods, and they've been dealing with corruption for. There's a movie called The 7-5, and it's about the 75th precinct in New York. And Michael Dowd, who is one of the guys in the movie, was a bad cop.
Yeah.
And he's out now, and he did time and shit like that. But it's a fucking crazy movie, and I had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
But his first day on the job, didn't they throw a dude off a balcony or some shit like that? He was told to shut his mouth. Something happened, like first day on the job. He witnessed some crazy shit, and he was basically told, "Hey, motherfucker, this is how we do shit. Like, get all that fucking goody two shoes dragnet bullshit out of your head.
Yeah.
This is how we do things here." And so then you're indoctrinated into this force that's already compromised.
And I think that's where a lot of people that's why I think a lot of people come from when they talk about the systemic aspect of things.
Yes,
right.
yes.
It's that culture
Right.
that breeds the mentality that says, all right, this is the way things are going to be done. So you either get down or you lay down.
Right.
And so in a lot of that responsibility is borne on the leadership in these places.
Yes.
And that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a restructuring and a reorganization of the leadership from a top-down perspective. That I do believe. And I agree with you. I'm like, you got a guy who has multiple complaints. I mean, at a certain point where there's smoke, there's probably going to be some fire somewhere.
Yes.
And so at that point, if you can't really reasonably justify why this person is getting a lot of complaints, and it, like you said, if it doesn't make sense why they're getting complaints, then okay, cool. But if you're like, all right, this just seems real suspect.
Yeah.
Either do a deeper investigation of it or get rid of them.
Yeah. And there's a problem with most people when you give them ultimate power over someone else. And it's not just the power of having a gun. It's the power of being able to tell someone, do what I'm telling you to do.
Yeah.
There's a crazy video I watched the other day of a white guy pulling over another white guy, and he's telling the guy, get out of the car. And the guy's going, why do you want me to get out of the car? He goes, because I'm fucking telling you to get out of the car. And he pulls out his pepper spray. And he goes, hey, man, he goes, I'm speeding. I'm going 5 miles an hour over. He goes, stop filming. He goes, I don't have to stop filming. And he goes, and why are you pointing your fucking pepper spray at me? And he goes, if you don't get out of the car, I'm going to hit you with it. And so there's this back and forth with this guy, and he goes to hit it. He goes, it's out. You're lucky. This is your lucky day. He goes, no. He goes, you're fucking crazy. He's like, you're going to pepper spray me because I'm going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit? So this is an example of a person who should never be in a position of having ultimate power over someone like that. If a guy was a really good cop, was a veteran, he would have been able to diffuse a situation. He would have walked up to him, how you doing, sir? You know why I pulled you over? You're going a little bit fast. You're going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, blah, 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 whatever it was.
Yeah.
You don't point fucking pepper spray at a guy who just because he's filming you. When he's filming you, he's allowed to do that. That's you. This is like an audition for you to keep your job.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, do a good job right there. Because you're going to get on the internet right now. And there's a lot of people that are on the internet. There was a fucking horrible one that I watched where this guy was in this verbal altercation with this woman, and it wasn't heated. She didn't do anything wrong, and he's yelling. She's not listening, so he grabs her, ragdolls her to the ground, face plants her, and gets her in a rear naked choke, and he's screaming at her. And he's a terrible rear naked choke too. And these other people are standing by watching this and filming it. And it's fucking madness. Yeah. This is a terrible way to handle the situation. Just a person who's either got PTSD or he's all fucked up. And my buddy Joe Schilling.
Or he's just a shitty person.
Just a shitty person who happens to get this job. Yeah. Now, guess what? Here's the other problem. Who's going to be a cop now?
Yeah. That's the thing.
Who's going to be a cop now?
I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to be a cop right now.
I wouldn't want to be a cop now. Fuck, man. Nah. Can only imagine.
I think the problem is it's like people don't understand, like, the relationship between community and the police should be a symbiotic relationship. That's what it should be.
Yes.
Because even to the same degree, there needs to be training. I think there needs to be training, not mandated training, but people should be cognizant, especially if I as a gun owner, someone who carries a gun on me 99% of the time, in my car, on my body, on my person, I should understand the dynamics that a police officer is looking at me from and dealing with people who carry guns and vice versa. So the officer needs to understand and be aware of the fact that, okay, you're living in a population where people carry firearms. So the idea or the presence of a firearm in the hands of a civilian should not terrify you that much. It just shouldn't. Now, I get it. There are bad apples all over the place. Thus, that brings it full circle. Me as a citizen should understand that because there are certain people who are bad apples, who carry firearms, that are interacting with the cops and may want to do ill will towards the cops, that I as a citizen should understand and have the responsibility that says, all right, there are certain things I'm going to do whenever I'm interacting with the cop that signals to them, hey, I don't mean you no harm, I mean you no threat. I get pulled over, the first thing I do is I pull over, roll the windows down, I have my ID, and I have my concealed carry license in hand, right? Everything I'm doing is just to put the cop at ease.
Right.
I'm demonstrating to the cop, look, I understand. You don't know who I am. I don't know who you are.
Right.
So we're going to give each other this mutual respect that says, all right, as long as you respect me, I'm going to respect you. And generally speaking, I speed a lot.
Do you get cops recognizing you?
I have. It's like 50-50.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
50-50 is a lot.
It is a lot, actually. And the funny thing is, the best time was I was in a car at the time. I was in the car with my ex at the time. Well, she was my then girlfriend, and then one of her best friends, and we were driving back from Houston. And so I was speeding. And so I think I had like a M6 at the time. And so I was speeding, and he was like, you need to slow down. And I'm like, well, shut up. So going. And then I get pulled over. And they're laughing. They're like, ha, ha, we told you, you idiot. Ha, 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 ha. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I got egg on my face and shit. And the cop comes over, and he's like, yeah, I do what I normally do, roll the windows down, hand him my driver's license. He goes runs my information. He's like, there might be a weird question, but are you Colion Noir? I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, man, I thought it was you.
Well, this is why it's a question, because your ID is different, because your real name
my
is
real
different.
name is Collins,
Right.
But
do you give out your real name?
I give out my real first name. I don't give out my last name because I don't want to have to shoot anybody. I'm being dead serious. I mean, I get a lot of weird stuff. So
I'm sure.
Yeah, and look, if you want to find my real name, you can find it. You can pull up on Wikipedia.
Right.
But I don't want to make it easy for you. But I mean, if you want to have those problems, have at it. But and I've had people threaten me before.
Over what?
Just my stance and things like that. I've had people
threatening you for your stance on responsible gun ownership.
That's the funny
so they
thing.
Want to shoot you.
I don't understand. It's so ridiculous. I don't understand it. But there are a lot of psychos out there.
Yeah.
Even anti-gunners can be psychos.
But I've had this conversation about you with people that are not gun owners, that don't like guns. And I said, listen, there are people out there like yourself that are the best example of what you would hope for a gun owner. And if that's your fucking neighbor, you should be happy that guy's armed. If some shit goes down, you need someone to help you. You want people to be able to help themselves. But
it's like that in my neighborhood.
I think people are going to have a different attitude about this with all this defund the police talk. I really do. And the looting and and not only that, but here in Santa Monica, they have police, right? The police are there. And they were told to stand down. They were told to stand there while people are looting.
I think another thing, too, I think there is a semantics issue going on with the defund the police, at least from what I'm seeing. Because initially when I heard about the defund the police, I'm like, what the hell are y'all talking about? Like, we can't be this stupid. I guess there is a segment. It's even within the defund the police, there are different sects. There are the people who are like, no, we just need to reallocate certain portions of the funding for police in different places. And then there are people who are like, no, we just need to absolve all police, take away the funding, and get rid of them.
Those people are out of their fucking minds.
But here's a funny thing about that. Let's take what's going on in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
In Chaz.
Yeah.
How fast do we realize within a blink of an eye that crime is going to happen? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what type of utopia you think you're going to establish. There are going to be messed up people.
Well, someone got shot there yesterday.
And from what I hear, it was pretty much a hit.
Was it?
I think not the one from yesterday, but the one before that, because there was another shooting.
Oh, God.
And apparently it seemed like it was a hit. Like they were looking for this person and they went to kill them. And I'm like, Chaz was supposed to be this utopia.
Right.
No cops,
right.
No money, all of it. And within a blink of an eye, what do you have?
Well, not
Lord
only
of the
that,
Flies.
They also don't have hospitals in Chaz, right? Like, what are you going to do if someone does get shot? I mean,
Well, apparently somebody bled out because
the cops probably don't want to go in there.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't let him in.
Oh, God.
From what I saw. Yeah. And
This is not going to end well, folks.
It's not.
It's not going to end well. The way to handle this, in my opinion, is to fix the current structure, to do it in a logical way that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not to take everything down. So to take this back to what you were saying about Black Lives Matter, don't you think there's probably people in Black Lives Matter who don't have these sort of Marxist ideas?
Yes.
They just don't want black people getting shot by cops.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The sentiment of Black Lives Matter, I am all for it.
As am I.
I'm all for it. The organization, though, that's the problem I have, because they're essentially the leadership of this.
So you think that the leadership has
I think they have
almost
ulterior
like a
motives.
secret motive that the people that are involved, that are doing all the groundwork, probably aren't even aware of?
No, they're not. And I did a whole video about it.
Yeah.
Because I remember Black Lives Matter, and it was a video I did, I think, 2 years ago. And this is when I was with the NRA, and Black Lives Matter was attacking the NRA, basically saying that they don't really care about black gun ownership, so forth and so on. It was like an attack piece. And I think it was the branch of Black Lives Matter that's here in LA, actually. And so I did a response video. And it was like a 15, 20-minute video. And I broke it down systematically. And I'm like, all right, well, okay, we started off with Black Lives Matter because of police brutality. Cool, I'm all for it. But what has happened now? All of a sudden they get this massive wave of funding, and their whole direction shifts into some other stuff that I have no idea what it has to do with anything.
Like what?
With respect to, now it's become this kind of like all-encompassing umbrella of LGBTQ and some other stuff, but then and then even aspects of, I guess, I don't want to say Antifa is under the umbrella, but the whole Marxist kind of communist socialist aspects of politics kind of creeping into that as well. And then when you couple that with the idea that you have the actual founders saying that they're trained in Marxism, and then you have what you see now playing out, where you have these very peaceful protests being co-opted by violent people who are now just engaging in rioting and looting and then branding it Black Lives Matter. They're wolves hiding amongst sheep.
I think there's a bunch of things happening at the same time, and I think when it comes to the rioting and looting, I think there's a lot of just opportunists.
No,
absolutely. I don't think they're necessarily that organized.
Some of it is organized.
Some of
I
it
do
maybe,
believe that, and then
maybe.
I do, and you're right, because there was, like for instance, in Dallas, one of the coffee shops that I go to all the time, he was telling me, he was like, all the windows were broken out. And really, he was like, they really was just a bunch of kids just running around taking advantage of the chaos and just kind of breaking windows.
You have to take into consideration these kids haven't worked in 3 months.
Yeah.
They're probably broke as fuck and looking for free shit.
Yep.
There's a ton of them. And there's just opportunists, man. You saw that in New York, for sure.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
New York,
I'm pretty sure y'all had that here, too.
Yeah, for sure. But the crazy thing about New York is a lot of it was apartment buildings filming down on the streets because, in New York, everyone's in
high rises. Yeah.
So they're filming. There's so many videos of people filming on the streets while all this madness is going. There's one crazy video where all these people are breaking into shit and this guy runs in the street and another guy hits him with a car and he goes flying through the air and the car takes off. Jesus. Bro, it's mad. And then they're just smashing through Soho and breaking into art galleries and stealing everything, and like it's nuts, man.
But it also bodes the question: when you have chaos, you inevitably will get destruction.
Yes,
that's what happens, which is why you need structure. Which is why you need. Keep in mind, I am no fan of big government. I'll be the first one to tell you. I am no fan of big government. However, you do